Hey guys, see this lovely dress we are making today. If it's your first time here, you're welcome. To all our subscribers, thank you for always coming back. Let's dive into the video. So I'll start by cutting the upper part of the crop top, and I already folded my fabric in two, and I have it in two layers. The down one is for the back parts, and I'll proceed by just marking out my zipper allowance, which I left about 1 inch allowance for it, and I've marked it out. Then the next thing is to mark out the full length, and the full length I'll be using for this is just 18 inches. So I'll proceed by marking 18 inches. So the first mark I have there is just the starting point, and from there downward I have about 20 inches, which include my sewing allowance. Then I'll proceed by marking out my chest line, and I just came down from the starting point 8 inches downward, and I'll mark it out also. So that's my chest line, and I'll go downward again to about 10 inches, which is for my bust point. All this line will guide me on where to exactly place the circumference of my bust. Then the next thing I'm going to do is just to mark out the shoulder measurements, dividing my shoulder measurements by 2, and I slanted it down by about 1 inch. And I slant it, cuff it straight to the neck part. Also from that shoulder point, I'm going to connect it downward to the chest line. Then on the chest line, I'll go upward about 1 inch just to get my armhole curve. So at this point, I'll proceed to the neck marking. So for the neck width, I'm going to be using 3.5, and for the depth, I'll be using 3 inches. I will connect it together exactly the way you're seeing me doing it now. After that, I'll proceed to the bust part. So I'm going to be dividing the circumference of my bust by 12, and I will add about 1.5 allowance. You can as well just add like 1 inch allowance because the dress is going to be free, so there is no need for much allowance inside. Then from there, I'll proceed to the down part, which is the waist part of my dress, and divide the circumference of my waist by 4, and also add about 1 inch to 1.5 allowance. Make sure while taking the measurement for this crop, no, it's a free crop, so ensure you take it free. So I'm going to connect exactly you've seen the waist to the bust, and I'll proceed by cutting out everything. So this is what I have, but for the neck part, I'm not going to be using the same depth for the neck for the back piece. So for the back piece, I'll use the depth about 2 inches. So I'll mark it out and first cut the back piece out exactly the way you're seeing, and I'll proceed by opening up the zipper allowance. After that, I'll separate the back from the front, then cut out the neck depth for the front part. Okay, after I'm done doing this, I'll proceed to the armhole curve to get the perfect armhole for the front part. So I'll divide the armhole by 2. At the center part, I'll go in about 0.5, then connect it slantly exactly the way you see me do. Then I'll just cut off the excess I have there. Then this is the front part and the back piece of our crop top. So we'll proceed to the sleeve part. So I have my fabric again folded in 2, and I have the length. So I'll proceed first by marking out my starting point. You can see exactly that place I have ruling out now is the starting point. So after marking out my starting point on the edge, I'll be coming down about 4 inches, and this is exactly the method I use while marking out my sleeve. From that point, I'm going to be slanting it down using my tape rule to slant it exactly the way you're seeing for perfect fitting for the armhole. And for the armhole, after measuring it, I have about 10 to 11 inches, and I don't want any pleating for the sleeve, so I'm going to be slanting it with about 11 inches, just down to the 4 inches I came down already with, and already marked the 11 inches. So from that point now, I'm going to be taking it down to 11 inches downward again, which stand for my 3/4. Looking at the sleeve, from the armhole to the 3/4 is perfect fit sleeve. So from that point now, I'm going to be dividing the circumference of my sleeve, the round sleeve, at 11 inches into 2, and I'll mark it. Then I'll come down again to 20 inches downward. Then for the slant effect, I'm coming down about 27 inches, which is the full length for the triangular effect. I'm going to be marking the circumference of my sleeve there. I made it 13 inches. I wanted 24 divided by 2, which is 12, but I added allowance, sewing allowance. Then from that mark I have there, I'm going to connect it straight to the first round sleeve I marked on my 3/4. You can see exactly what I have now. Remember, the main length for the triangular sleeve is just that 21, which is the second line, this line I have. So coming down 27 is for that effect, another triangle on triangular shape downward of the round sleeve. So from that 21 inch I have that mark, I'm coming down about 0.5. Then from that 0.5 I'll slant it down to the 27 I have, exactly the way you're seeing me doing it now. So this other triangular shape we have down is for that effect you're seeing on the sleeve, the down part of the sleeve. And this is just the perfect cutting for this sleeve, exactly the way you're seeing it. So now everything we have is a result to about 22 for that first round sleeve. Then coming down for the effect, we have it slanted exactly the way I've explained. So I'm going to be cutting out what I have now. After I'm done cutting the sleeve now, I'll use this to cut the second part of the sleeve. At this point, we'll proceed to the cutting of the short skirt with the crop top. So I have my fabric again folded in two, but I have it in two places. Okay, from the down part one, I'll mark out my zipper allowance, which I use about 1 inch. So I'm going to be marking it out on the fabric exactly the way you're seeing it now. And that part I'm marking is for the back parts, which has the zipper allowance. Okay, then I'm going to be marking out my starting point from the fabric, which is what I have already marked out. And the main length of this skirt is, the main length for the short skirt is 20 inches, but I'll be putting waistband, which I'll be using about 2 inches for the waistband. So minus the 2 inches from the waistband, I have 18. But remember, the down part, I'm going to be putting lining, which I'll be turning it up. So I will still add 2 inches back. So I'm using that 20 inches for the length, so that when I fold it up, I will have 18. But by the time I put back my waistband, it's going to give me 20 inches. So I just went ahead to cut it from that starting point. And that's our waist part. I'm going to be taking the circumference of our waist divided by 4, then adding my allowance, and I came down again 10 inches, and that 10 inches side I came down is my hip line. And from there I'll also take the circumference of my hip divided by 4, and I'll mark it. Also add my allowance. You can use from 1 to 2 inches for your allowance. And for the down parts, I will just measure everything I have on the hip line, and I'll minus 1.5. The remaining I'm going to mark for the down part of the skirts. And this is how I mark the down part for the skirts. Is that I remove 1 inch, 1.5 or 2 inches, depends on how big the towel of the fellow I'm sewing for. So from there I'm going to connect it together exactly the way you're seeing. I will proceed to cut it out. Since we will not be cutting through the dart part, so also include the dart allowance in the total allowance you are adding for the skirt. So after that, I'm going to open up the zipper for the back. Please don't forget to like this video. Okay, this is the piece I'll be using for the waistband, and I'll just go ahead and join it together Remember, I just need about 2 inches from this, and I will close it up using making the right side face the right side. Close it up just straight like that and attach it. All this I'm going to be explaining in the second part of this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next part of this video. Please subscribe and comment if you have any, if you need clarity in any part of the video, and please don't forget to like the video. Like it. Bye.